welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Esperanza. I love plants, I love thrifting, I love decorating my brand new Nashville apartment that I'm decorating from scratch. So in today's video, I wanted to give you guys a little tour of the plants in my apartment. I definitely wouldn't say I have like the biggest plant collection, but I do have a really good amount of plants. I absolutely love plants. I'd love to get more, but as I said, I am starting over from scratch. I had to leave all of my plants back home in Portland, so I've been slowly adding to my collection since I moved to Nashville. I'll also be sharing some of my plant tips and how I care for my plants, but I do want to mention that I'm not a plant expert. But if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I'll definitely try my best to answer any plant questions. So let's go ahead and get started in my bedroom. So this lovely bird of paradise is actually one of the first plants I added to my collection when I first moved to Nashville. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you may have seen that I actually collaborated with a brand called Bloomscape, and that's actually where this plant is from. I'm actually really lucky because my bird of paradise had 2 brand new leaves that were starting to grow pretty much as soon as I got it, which was very exciting. I did lose one of the leaves because it ended up like flopping over at some point at night. I think it might have gotten like knocked or something, so I actually had to trim that one off, which was very sad. But the other brand new leaf, this one here, survived. I have the bird of paradise next to my bedroom window, and my bedroom actually gets like the best light in my apartment, so I think that's why my bird of paradise is usually really happy and was able to grow those 2 new leaves. I also like to dust the leaves, which actually right now it needs a dusting. I pretty much just get around to it whenever I see that like a lot of dust is collected on them, and that actually helps your plant to thrive as well. Over on my dresser, I have 3 different plants. I have this little mini succulent here, which just sits on this little wicker chair that I found. I got this at Walmart. I think it was like 4 for $1 or something like that, so it was super cheap. I have had a little bit of trouble taking care of it just because it's in this like mini pot. It's hard to water it and it doesn't have a drainage hole. So what I like to do with this guy is submerge it in water for just like 10 minutes or so and then put it back in the pot. It stays together like really nicely. So super easy, and then that way I can make sure it's getting some water. So that just sits there on the little mini wicker chair, which I think is so cute. I also have a golden barrel cactus here, which is one of the newer plants that I've gotten. I got a set of 3 cacti from Bloomscape. I'm obsessed with cacti, so I really wanted to get more of them just because I think that they give like an apartment that really like southwestern feel that I love. So I really wanted to get more cacti. I think I have about 4 or 5 now. I'd love to get like some really big ones. So yeah, I think it looks super cute here. Cacti like to get a lot of sun, so this is the perfect spot for it actually, because like I said, my bedroom gets the best light in my apartment. And then over here I actually have a Dracaena, and this is like probably the easiest plant that I have to take care of. Of all my plants, I've had the least trouble with this one, like never had any issues with dead leaves, nothing like that. It's super easy to take care of. So if you guys are watching this video and you are a beginner to plants, I would definitely recommend the Dracaena. It also looks so cute here in this little plant stand that I actually got from Walmart, and I think it was like under 10 bucks or so. But it just gives it like that little like West Elm feel, but for a lot less expensive. So yeah, I'm obsessed with my dresser. This is like one of my favorite styled spots in my apartment. I just love the way that the terracotta, the wicker, the plants, the wood elements all tie in together. It's just like very pleasing to me. So over here on my windowsill, I have 2 more cacti. This cacti is one of the cacti that I got in that set of 3 from Bloomscape. And then this cacti I actually picked up from Walmart. Okay, it's like stuck to the windowsill. The reason that I have them over here on my windowsill is so that I could make sure that they were getting enough sun, because I know that cacti like to have a lot of sun. This cacti here has actually grown so much since I picked it up from Walmart. Somebody on my TikTok video mentioned that they thought that something was wrong with this plant. I can't remember what like word that they used, but they said that because it was like growing so skinny that something was wrong with it and that it wasn't getting enough sun. Although I'm really confused by that because it literally gets like the best sun in my apartment. This is actually a peanut cactus. So Dracaena cactuses actually do grow like really long arms, and they kind of just like grow in funky ways. So I'm thinking that that's what it is, that it's just like growing really long arms. But I always make sure that it's getting a lot of sun. And then this is actually a Bullwinkle cactus, which I've never had before. It was kind of like one of the interesting cacti that came in that set of 3. I think it was called the Mojave collection, if you guys are interested in checking it out. And it comes with 3 different cacti, including the golden barrel, the Bullwinkle, and then a fairy castle cactus I'm going to show you guys next. So this guy was actually kind of like bent in the box. So obviously it's like really hard to deliver plants, and I think it must have gotten like bustled around or something. So it actually was kind of like curved like that already in the box because it had been folded over, and then it lost one of its little arms. It had like a little arm like that, which I was so sad to see that it had fallen off. But I did repot that, so hopefully it grows. And now that it's been sitting here on my windowsill for a long time, it is finally starting to like straighten out, so I'm glad to see that he's happy. But as I said, I'm decorating my apartment from scratch, so we left everything back in Portland, and it's taking me just kind of like a while to accumulate all of the things that I need for our apartment. So it might be a little bit longer before I find like the perfect nightstands, but eventually when I get those, these will live on those nightstands. Okay, so I tried backing out the camera far enough so that you guys can see my little plant up here. It's actually another golden barrel cacti. I'm only putting it there temporarily. I actually want to get like a golden pothos to go on like this macrame hanger because they grow like really long vines. So I just think that would be very pretty for this corner. Also, the cacti is not getting enough light there, so that's something that I need to get on right away. We have pretty big ceilings in our apartment, so this macrame hanger is just not long enough. So I want to get a hanger that's like much longer than that so the plant sits about here instead. Okay, so now I'm going to bring you guys in closer to get a closer look at these plants. Okay, so over on my media console, I have 2 different plants. I have my heartleaf philodendron here, and then also I have a ZZ plant. So heartleaf philodendrons are actually a really good plant to start with if you want a plant that grows pretty quickly. Mine has grown a ton. It actually started out in like a really small pot, and then I repotted it into this bigger pot, so it's grown like much longer vines. You can see here, this is all new growth. I have had to trim a lot of dead leaves off of it though. I think I was just having problems with it because I was trying it out in a lot of different areas of my apartment. My kitchen actually doesn't get any natural light, so I ended up moving her over here where she seems to be doing a lot better. Pretty much all my plants I just give water when the soil is dry, so right about now is the time when you just need to get some water. And actually a little bit later, after I'm done doing the plant tour, I'm going to fertilize all of my plants, which is something important that you should be doing in the spring, summertime. My ZZ plant is actually another one that I've gotten from Bloomscape, and it started out in a small pot as well. So I repotted her in this plant recently, and since then she has grown so much. This is all new growth here. I think she's just thriving in the bigger pot because there's more room to grow, there's more like space for the roots to grow. So if you guys are wanting any of your smaller plants to grow bigger, definitely try to repot them in a bigger pot where they have more room to grow. Both of these need a dusting as well. So what I usually do is I go around with a slightly damp rag and then I just wipe off the leaves. Recently though, I saw on TikTok, like somebody had posted a TikTok video that they actually use banana peels to dust their plants with, and I did try that the last time that I dusted them, so I may try to dust them that way again. It's kind of hard with the rag actually because it's like so heavy and it ends up kind of like hitting the leaves. So the banana peel was nice because I just like cut them into small little snippets. It was really easy to wipe them, so I'm going to try that again this time. So yeah, these are the plants I have over here. This area has changed so many times. I have like moved around my plants so many times, but right now this is what I've settled with for this space. Also in my living room is my Yucca Cane. This is actually, I would say, my hardest to care for plant. I've had the most problems with this one. Not sure if you guys can see from that far, but I've had to trim back so many of its leaves because it just ended up getting like dried out. I do feel as though I'm giving it enough water, like whenever the soil's dry, I water it. I also make sure that because it's a bigger plant, it gets more water than obviously some of my smaller plants. Yucca canes are plants that can get away with not having too much light, so I don't know if it's just a problem of it's not getting enough sun over here, so I'm not sure. It seems to be doing a lot better now that I have been making sure that it's getting more water. So hopefully it stays that way, but if it doesn't, then I need to do a little bit more problem solving. And just so you guys know, that is a lot about plant care, is just kind of like figuring out what your plant's needs are, kind of like testing things out a little bit, whether it needs more sun, whether it needs more water. Plant care really just depends on your apartment, like how much light it gets, like what area of the country you live in as far as humidity. There are really so many factors that go into it. So a plant that might thrive in my apartment might not do as well in yours, or vice versa. So don't be afraid if your plant seems like it's dying. You kind of just have to figure out what its needs are. I've had so many plants that I've saved from the brink of death. So this area of my apartment is kind of an awkward area. What I really wanted for this spot was like a really big wicker shelf case that I could put like tons of plants and frames and little decor and knickknacks on. But I found this corner shelf on one of my last thrift trips that I thought would work in this corner for now. I actually styled this corner with you guys in my last video, so if you guys missed it or are interested in it, I will link it for you guys so that you can watch it. I styled 2 plants on this corner shelf. This snake plant, which is one of my favorite plants. Snake plants are so awesome because they really require like hardly any maintenance. They can get away with mist waterings, they don't need a ton of light, and they still thrive. And I have that sitting in this cute little basket that I thrifted, and I actually also thrifted this little terracotta planter, and I have a second one too, so it has like a matching set. And then down here I actually have that Fairytale Cactus, which was the 3rd cactus in that Navajo set, if you guys are interested in it. These are so unique. It's probably my most unique plant, I would say, in my apartment. I actually had like a gigantic one that my dad gave me when I lived in Portland, but I had to leave it when we moved here. So I was pretty sad about that, but I'm glad that I have a little mini one to start over with. What I love about this corner shelf is kind of what I love about my dresser, which is the terracotta pieces mixed with the wicker and the wood and the plants. It just looks so good together. I love these elements together. It also looks good with my rainbow print, which I'm not just going to have sitting there forever. I'm going to eventually hang it. I was kind of just waiting because I wasn't like positive if I was going to use it somewhere else or if I was going to find something to go on this like blank wall here. So for now it's just going to be sitting there, but I think it looks very cute and I'm very happy with how it turned out. So over in this corner I have my green Hoya, which is in that matching terracotta pot that my snake plant is in. It was actually the perfect size pot to fit in this basket. I had this basket empty forever because I thought that it would be a very cute basket to use as a planter, but it took me forever to find a pot that like fit in it because it's this really weird height. So I needed a pot with a weird depth. And luckily I found that set of 2. So the pot just sits in this basket and I think it looks so cute. I love the way that the clay and the wicker basket look together. That's kind of like the aesthetic that I'm going for in my apartment, is a lot of these like clay terracotta colors mixed with natural tones from like wicker. And also some like wood pieces mixed in, lots of plants, and whites. Okay, so now the main apartment fan turned on. I tried to time it out so that it wasn't going to be going when I filmed this video, but it's kind of tricky, so hopefully that's not going to ruin the audio of this video. I also have Indio in the bathroom, who you guys may or may not be able to hear him whining. I'm not sure if this camera actually picks that up from that far away. But in one of my last videos, somebody mentioned that his barking like startled them, so I felt really bad about that. So I have him tucked away in the bathroom so that he can't do any barking in this video. So over in this corner, I actually have my Limelight plant, which sits in this cute little wicker basket. Limelights were not a plant that I was familiar with before I picked up this one, but this is another plant that has been like very low maintenance. I actually just noticed that it has a dead leaf on it, so what I usually do with the leaves is I just take my scissors and then I go and trim the leaf at the base. It's very important to trim dead leaves off because they actually steal energy away from the plant that it could be using to grow healthy leaves. So you definitely want to get these off the plant, and just a pair of scissors does the trick. But besides that, I really haven't had very much trouble with it. It hardly ever has like dead leaves. It's one of the plants I have here in my kitchen because it can get away with having like hardly any sun. About once a day though, I do take these plants and move them to the floor right next to my balcony door so they can get like a good amount of sun. So they do get some sun every day that way, but most of the time they're sitting in here in my kitchen without a ton of light. And even without, all of these have done super well. And then over in this corner, I have my golden pothos, which is another plant that I highly recommend to any of you plant beginners because they're very easy to take care of and they grow very quickly. They grow these like long vines on them, and you can actually count like 5 nodes back on the vine and trim it there, and then you can actually propagate that, which propagation is basically like you would take a tall glass, fill it with water, and put the stem that you cut off in there, and then let it grow roots for like a couple months or so. It depends on the plant, but you can actually then take that and repot it into a new pot and have a new pothos plant. So that's really amazing, and you could get a ton of other plants from just one plant like this. I am still waiting for my vine to get long enough to be able to do a cutting. Keep in mind though that I do have it in this corner, so it's not getting as much sun as it should, and if it was getting more sun, it would definitely grow a lot faster, which is why I want to get a pothos to go in that corner in the macrame hanger so I can kind of help it grow faster. But I don't mind that it's growing a little bit slower than it could be because I like the way that it looks here in this corner. I feel like it just fills that corner out very nicely, and it's one of the plants that can get away with not as much sun. So that's kind of what I needed for my kitchen. So those were all of the plants in my plant tour, and now I'm going to go ahead and fertilize them. So I picked up this Miracle Grow indoor plant food from Walmart. It was actually pretty inexpensive. I feel like it was only like $4.50 or something, so pretty inexpensive. I had actually really wanted to fertilize my plants in an eco-friendly way. And one of the things that I thought would work would be coffee grounds, because like as you can see, I have a coffee maker and we make coffee every single morning, so we always have coffee grounds. But when I was like doing research on it, it seemed a little bit more complicated than I thought it would be. Like it actually was saying that you should compost the grounds with other compost stuff, and we don't compost. It's actually very hard to recycle or compost in Nashville. I have to kind of just like save all my recycling stuff and put it in my trunk and then make like a trip out to the recycling center to recycle stuff, because I wanted to make sure that I was at least doing that. Moving from like Portland, Oregon, where we recycle everything, it was kind of like surprising that that wasn't like a thing here. At least that it wasn't as easy that it was back in Portland. I definitely took that for granted. So I do make recycling trips, but I don't like compost or anything like that. So it sounded like it would just be a little bit too complicated, and it was kind of saying that if you use the coffee grounds alone, that it could be bad for the plants, it could kill them, and obviously I didn't want that. So I need to do more research on how to fertilize the plants in an eco-friendly way, but for now I'm just going to be using this guy. So on the bottle it says you can either add it directly to the soil, 1 pump for small pots, 2 pumps for larger pots, or you can take a watering can and mix 4 pumps in with your water and water them as usual. I actually don't have a watering can, surprisingly. I really should get one. What I've just been using is like a glass, and I just fill it with water and water them all that way, but I need to get a watering can. I just have to add it to my list so that I remember like the next time I'm at the store. So what I'm going to do is just do the direct pump option. Okay, so these are all small pots, so I'm going to just do 1 pump per pot for these guys, and then you're supposed to water as usual afterwards. So I'm going to do the pumps first, then water. Okay, so this one gets why is this not working? So it took me a good 5 minutes to figure out how to get this to work, but basically it has like this little cap on it, and it wasn't like pumping. I didn't know why, but it's because it has this little cap. So got that uncapped, and now I can pump. Okay, so this guy got 1 pump, and we're going to give this one And the golden pothos will get like a pump and a half because it is in a slightly bigger pot than the other ones. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end the video here because this video would be way too long if I went around and did all of my plants, so I'll just finish up after the video. But I hope that you guys enjoyed my little plant tour. I'll most likely do another one when I'm finished decorating my apartment. There are a lot of surfaces that I still want plants for. For example, when I get like a coffee table, I want more plants there. So I'll definitely do an update plant tour as well in the future. Also, if you guys are not following me on TikTok, my TikTok is @theurbandarling, and I post tons of plant videos on there as well. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you guys aren't subscribed already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!